And hello, let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Welcome to Revolution Radio Studio A. This is Planet Collingwood. My name is Monty Dean. Big thank you to Tony and crew for. Okay, what are you doing now? Oh, you strange little thing. Okay, so how am I supposed to? Uh, what's that say? I'm create. No, I don't want to create a new group. This is just silly. Anyway, Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. If you like the last 2 hours, please go to freedomslips.com and donate what you can. And okay, well, he's there, so why can't I add? This is just silly. Anyway, and donate what you can. There we go. Stupid friggin' add you silly thing. All right, now there we go. Should be doing it. So I'm producing myself, ladies and gentlemen, and so we'll see what happens. And once you've donated, because we're 100% listener supported, excellent, and 100% volunteer. So Revolution Radio in its 11th year by doing the maths, because we started the 1st of January 2011, and we're still here. So. Is it 10th year? I don't know. We've been here for a while. I've been doing it since 2015. Around about the same week that John Wayne, not the actor, started. So there you go. Once you've donated to the station, pop into the chat room on freedomslips.com and hang out with lovely people. We've got Packwoman, Popsicle Toes, Blasphemous Buddha, nods. Jer Bear is there as well. May Street 139, hello. And I've been lucky enough to be joined by HiJacker. HiJacker, how are you? It's been a while.
Yeah, Monty, it's been probably a month or so. Sure.
I've been in lockdown, so every day's the same.
I've had my life blown apart too, but fortunately, for whatever reason, everything switched. I don't know why, but anyway, so I didn't have to end up, pulling stakes up and moving 1,000 miles. But yeah, so it's been a little while. So the reason why I called in is looks like you Aussies have caught a break. So have you heard the news?
Well, just tell me what you've heard, because from you having a different point, you're outside, you get international media, so you would get a different point of view as well as whatever's on your radar. And instead of me going through all the other things and not getting it, we'll just save time and let you share what data information you have, and then we'll add from it.
Right. Well, two big things that's happened in the last 24 hours, which I think are directly affect you. One of them does for sure. The big one as far as economics for Australia is that China has now, they cut their coal production, imports from Australia, like 2/3, food, they cut all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they were trying to economically strangle you because of the different positions that you've taken. And of course, the latest is this whole sub thing.
Yeah.
But today they restored everything. You're talking about like $100 billion, like, of stuff that China's going to buy from you now.
I would say that's because of the economic problems that China is having internally. And so, right. Yeah. Well, right. If I can just do a very small background of where Australia sits, we're friends with the United States, because Australia likes to hang out now, not with the bully, but the strongest in the schoolyard. Bully's the wrong term there. However, we like to sell stuff and trade with China as well. So we're sort of not stuck in the middle, but we've been playing that game, not playing each other off, not playing the United States and China off each other, but we're in that sort of middle ground of like, oh no, we're friends to both. And then you had the subcontract where Australia basically snubbed France. It was $90 billion. It was a deal of a century, and the French are very upset. They actually withdrew their their ambassador from Australia, and it's like, well, that's kind of telling. And the Chinese have reacted as well because it's posturing, and it's that all that geopolitical stuff where it's on a stage, so who knows what's happening behind many curtains, but at the moment they're showing all this force. And so you also have what's happening with COVID and everything else like that, internal struggles where apparently the federal government here wants to open up international travel, and yet you can't travel between states. And I think it's that profit versus humanity angle, which I find finally amusing, because it's the only way you can deal with it is through an element of comedy. So that's sort of where it is now. And you've got the internal, like, you've heard the idea of splitting the United States in half or secession. Has that popped up on your radar, HiJacker? Because they're not sort of ramping for it, but the idea is out there, floating around in the.
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of succession movements and blue states against red states. But I wanted to focus on Australia.
Mm-hmm.
The one point, yeah, you're right. China's hurting as far as her coal, her energy, her food. She is hurting. And so you could say, well, that's the reason why they did a deal with Australia today. But it parallels another deal. So what it looks like, Monty, it looks like the Chinese made a trade. So instead of going in and taking Australia lickety split, which they could roll over all 30 million of you in no time. Literally, they could do it by plane. They don't even need ships. But instead of doing that, it looks like Taiwan's been traded off. So this is what has happened in the last 12 hours, supposedly. Now this guy's a pretty good source. He's a gatekeeper. He plays around with the stuff that you believe. You all believe in like a spinning ball Earth. We're spinning faster than the speed of sound. Okay, I'll give him that. Okay, forget the asteroids or whatever else. But Stephen Banoon, he does have good information from other sources, and he says that there was a phone call today between Biden and Xi Jinping, and there's so much stress and pressure on China. They're the ones partially gunking up our supply chain line, which, by the way, our shelves are starting to go bare. There's hundreds of ships that are sitting off our coast for whatever reason are not being unloaded. Only about 60% of the ships in China are being loaded. And so this high-level phone call, and Xi Jinping basically said, look, we're getting ready to go into not only an economic type collapse reset with this help me out here, Monty Dean.
The Evergrade, I think it's great. It's not green. Right. Yeah, Evergrade, which they from my understanding they did bail outs for internal Chinese companies, which is kind of ironic because if you get big enough, the CCP becomes an stockholder of companies. So there's an element of control with that, as well as I can't remember exactly when, but in the last year, last week, sorry, feels like a year. In the last week, they've allegedly frozen their stock market to try and deal with it. And so I'm not sure what's happening with China, but you've got the knock-on effects, especially with because in the globalism model, China makes things, and everyone is connected to that. And yeah, it's very interesting, especially talking about the amount of ships. Now, is this the government forcing the scarcity? Because if you've seen a map of all the ships waiting to unload on all the coasts of the United States, it's like a logjam. You know how they have the logging in Canada, and just
right, and it's real heavy on the West Coast, like it's like double or triple the amount of ships versus Atlantic. That's because we are the gateway to Asia and all the stuff that comes from Asia, Australia, Japan, all the South Korea. But anyways, so it appears that the Chinese are under such pressure, not only because of their energy, in other words, they're having 60% of blackouts now in China. rolling blackouts. But the food, something's happened with the food. They're worried about it. Of course, the imports are off. The global economy is off. But what this phone call was that Xi Jinping says, look, from my understanding of this Stephen Bannon, you go to Israeli News Live and you can actually catch his little clip. But they made the phone call and Xi Jinping says, look, between Christmas and New Year's, China, without military presence, we're going to take control of Taiwan without actually using military force. Now, what I think they're going to do, and I think the Chinese have got the balls to do it, I think they're going to fly a couple of major airliners full of political, financial, and military people.
Oh, you dropped out there.
High-level people are going to get off. They say, we're the commission to transition you into China. Of course, what are the Taiwanese going to do? Immediately, they're going to put them under gunpoint, and they're going to say, no, we're going to put you in hotel rooms until we can figure out what's going to happen, which that's what the Chinese want. Okay, now we're talking. So they're going to have
it won't be a traditional hot war. It won't be combat.
No.
They'll try every other way because,
No.
If China steps out
their top officials,
yeah.
They may even fly in their vice premier. The Taiwanese are not going to know what to do. The only thing they're going to be able to do is saying, well, let's stick them in a hotel and let's figure this out. And then China's going to say to Taiwan, look, we are getting ready to go into an economic collapse. In other words, we're forced to go to war. You, however, Taiwan, if you would reunite with China, you can pull us out of this economic real estate collapse, all the other things that we got coming. We're not going to do brute force and take over. We're just going to graft you in.
So in this scenario, it sounds like the Chinese may offer Taiwan the chance to be the heroes of the piece.
Yeah, they could work it like that. They could work it like the kind of deal they had in Singapore, 2 systems, 1 nation. I forgot how they called it, something like that. They always come up with these slogans.
Yeah, so sorry, you mean Hong Kong? Because that
right.
Yeah. That's interesting how that's worked there, but the Chinese have slowly encroached, and that's why you got the protests. So
anyways, the deal is what Stephen Bannon says is that once Biden realized that Xi Jinping was dead serious, and that, in other words, the Chinese were being trapped in a number of ways, and then finally the only way out is, in other words, they're going to have to fight. They're going to have to take something. Australia, Taiwan. They're going to have to do something. And so Biden took this information and said, look, Xi Jinping says that there's going to be like a natural transition between Christmas and New Year's, that Taiwan's going to fall under the control of the Chinese without war. They said that the Pentagon, he went to his Joint Chiefs of Staff, Milley and all the rest of them. They went to the Pentagon with the supercomputers and the AI, and they've got this gaming type of protocol. In other words, war gaming. You game everything out on a computer.
Yeah, modeling. They call it modeling. Yeah, they put it
right.
See what outcomes will be possible from the information that they have. But
right.
That game theory, that exactly the same as they've taken video games and applied it to real world situations, because it's, in a way, it's a story. So yeah, you're correct.
Right. That's actually what I'm using now. I'm using the fourth dimensional, basically game board for my thinking, how I'm analyzing what's going on. I'm trying to fill in the blanks. So anyways, they went to the Pentagon, they gamed it out. The military came back to Biden and said, you know what? We've ran every type of scenario. And they probably said outside of a full thermal nuclear exchange in which we blow the Three Gorges Dam, kill about 400 million innocent people and really go nuts. China can actually win this thing if they decide to go up against Taiwan. We can't stop them. We'll lose a lot of our Navy. And at the end of the day, they will take Taiwan. And so the story is that Biden called Xi Jinping back and says, let's negotiate. And basically he said, we will abide by the original Taiwanese agreement. And that Taiwanese agreement goes back up to 40, 50 years. I forgot. Help me out here, Monty. You know American politics better than I did. The president that went to China, that made the deal.
Nixon.
That's it. Yeah. So they made a deal in regard to Taiwan. No diplomatic separate relations with Taiwan. China, one nation with Taiwan, but that Taiwan will be assimilated through a peaceful means.
Yeah.
Something
also,
like that.
I just had a thought as well, because there was footage. I'm guessing this year, everything's blurred. Melbourne is now the longest, got the record for the longest city in lockdown on the planet. So excuse me if my timelines are all blurred. Someone was interviewing. I think they were from the World Health Organization, and they brought up Taiwan. And they just basically, I didn't hear what you said. And the lady repeated the question. So, I have to go now. He completely ignored the question. And so I'm wondering, how the UN and, all these globalist mechanisms, if this has been allowed. And so from the information that you've seen and you're sharing, I could see maybe if they're looking at the greater good, which is a really bad term, they would probably sacrifice Taiwan so globally it wouldn't cause dominoes. Because
right. There you go. Now your head's in the game. Good, Monty. Your head's in the game now.
The submarine, going back to the submarine contract where Australia said to France, and where with the US and the United Kingdom, sort of begs the question: why is the United Kingdom in the Pacific? Because you're on the other, you're way over there. I can kind of see how the story is unfolding, because if Biden allows it to happen, because I could see even China sort of saying, "Hey, what are you doing to China?" I mean, Russia to China. Fascinating. It is fascinating.
Yeah.
As well as
the thing is that
we're not even talking domestically in all three countries, Australia, United States, and China. You have everything else going on domestically, which we'll get to a bit later, obviously. So
right. So you would actually start to think, now, wait a minute, why would this big economic package get thrown in Australia's lap, where you guys are getting ready to, the money's getting ready to flow like red wine with that tap knocked off the pipe? Why would they do that? Is that they now, if they do decide to do this with Taiwan, the United States does nothing. Well, you had the agreement between India, South Korea, Japan, and Australia. If they attack Taiwan, we all got to go. Well, now that the United States is out of it, now with this deal with Australia, there's out of it. So the Japs are taking a look at the Indians and saying, do we got to go up against the Chinese without anybody else to fight this war in Taiwan? Because, one of us is going to be next. So I don't think they're going to do it. I think if Australia's off the table and the United States is off the table, I don't think Japan and India are going to go to war to protect Taiwan. I think they gained it out.
Yeah, from my understanding, is because of World War II, Japan militarily has been quashed, and so the main military force in Japan would be the United States, because you still have bases there, and the Japanese army just turn up to hand out oranges at halftime if there's a war, basically, because that's how they got punished, because of honor and everything else like that, and they went into technology instead of military. And there's hardly any. I don't know if they actually have an air force or a navy or anything else like that.
The other thing that I heard that most of the Japanese fairly big businessmen, industries or whatever, they did the same thing the Americans did. they offshore their heavy industry because of their demographics onto China. So behind every billionaire Chinese businessman are industrial manufacturing plants in China. So there's a symbiotic relationship already between Japan and China.
Yeah, and let's bring in both Koreas as well, because you've got South Korea and, of course, the wonder that is North Korea. So it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds, because apparently, who knows if it's real or not, but there's a bit of iffiness between South Korea and Japan, because they're very close. I learned this from MASH. The Sea of Japan, they're not that far away from each other. It's not like New Zealand to Australia, which I think is 3 hours in a plane one way. It's all very close region, and also, who knows? I think dare I say, wild card would be North Korea, because unless China can control North Korea with all their stupidity. And then to back up you've got Russia sort of being friends with China as well, where Russia was like, yeah, you want to calm down? It's interesting because everything's very, what's the right word? It's almost like a tinderbox where it's something, two things could go wrong and this could go south real quickly. I can see, they probably want a peaceful transition of Taiwan joining China. Because if they have a war, if they provoke a fight with Taiwan, everyone else will step in. They sort of have to go against the world. At the same time, it looks like they're having like the housing crisis mortgages that the United States, 2007, 2008, that triggered the global financial crisis. It's similar to that level in China at the moment.
It seems like what the globalists have set up is like what you were talking about when I called in. Everything is like a domino effect, and now they're looking at, wait a minute, if China is not able to cannibalize peacefully Taiwan and fold their economic system in to reinforce the Chinese, then the whole house of cards breaks down. China's going to be forced to go to war out of self-survival, and then the whole world goes into a collapse. So it looks like the good news is Australia is going to get a break, at least for a year or so. Looks like the United States is going to get a break. So it looks like there's some kind of agreement that's been made that, like the musical chairs, when the music stops, everybody sits down.
Yep.
Except Taiwan's not going to have a chair. China ate that chair.
Yes, so, they sold it off. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they kicked the can down the road. Also, the Jews, which control our banking, the Zionists, this is their style. They know how to take markets and use economic compression to leverage different things. So the complexity of the economics between Taiwan and China and what this would do to the world, it makes sense why that phone call was made. So, is it, but that's what it's looking like to me. I don't know. What do you think from Australia? I mean, why would China all of a sudden, because I mean, they lose face when they all of a sudden got everything that they didn't buy for the last year and a half. Now they're going to buy it all at once. What is that?
So the Chinese are very big on you cannot lose face. You have to save face. You can't acknowledge a mistake as a very weak example. And I think maybe they because there's a lot of posturing and saber rattling where all this type of stuff's been going on for decades on a certain level, and so there's an element of tension, but they don't really want to go to the next step, mutual destruction level, because no one wins. And let's bring in Afghanistan now, because the United States has withdrawn terribly, and I blame the leadership. And I'm lucky I don't have a job in the American military, because I would be put into the brig, like that gentleman that actually pointed out. It was the worst way of doing it.
Shocky or something, Shockley. Or...
Yeah. He's like, he wasn't being, he was only asking a question of where's the accountability of this withdrawal. I mean, you take the troops first. What idiot is in charge? Oh,
right. Well, it was all planned out. $90 billion. You don't give the Taliban money. Did you hear the latest on the update on Shockley or Lieutenant Colonel, the Marine Lieutenant Colonel? Did you hear the latest today?
No.
So they let him out of the brig this afternoon with no charges. He's at home, and he is under a gag order, but he is out of the brig. They got 4 pending charges, but they haven't actually filed them yet.
Yeah.
So that guy's, he's back home.
Yeah, he's dare I say a form of house arrest, and I would say
he's got 3 young kids too. I mean, come on, that's what they do. Yeah.
Oh yeah. They're very childish. The evil people are very childish. You know how evil kids can get. Now that any children listening, I don't mean you can go and do it. It's just I was a child once. I know how evil I could get with certain things. I mean, I'm not going to invade a country. But there's always that childish thing of I've seen in movies where don't make me shoot your wife. It's like and then they shoot you. You didn't do what I say, so I shot your wife. That's your fault. I didn't shoot my wife. You did. Like, don't shift blame on me. And also, you shot my wife. Come here. It's that ridiculousness of that childish mentality of I can't get my way, and so I'm going to blame everyone else.
Here's a story of one of my brothers, and how evil, children can be to one another. So I had a guinea pig. I had 2 guinea pigs, Bonnie and Clyde. They were my pets, right?
Yep.
And Peter, my older brother, he had a Siamese cat. So I could never play with the guinea pigs with the Siamese cat in a room. And so one night, I don't know if he was on the bunk bed. I don't know exactly how we were sleeping. Maybe it was double set of bunk beds. We're Irish, so we had a big family. Anyways, he goes, "Can I play with your guinea pig, Timmy?" And I says, "Yeah." As the door shut, so I forgot what the evil Siamese cat wasn't around. So I says, "Okay." So he played with it, and anyways, we turned the light off. There was only 1 light left, and then somebody wanted to go to the bathroom or whatever. And the next thing I know is one of my guinea pigs is screaming bloody murder. And my brother turns on the light, and all I'm seeing is this Siamese cat just ripping the neck. I mean, ripping the head, the neck. I mean, killing this. I think it was Bonnie. I think he killed Bonnie.
Yeah.
And my brother Peter, he just bust out laughing. I go, "You left the cage door open." And he goes, "Well, I didn't mean to." And I said, "Well, try to get the cat off." But meanwhile, the guinea pig's neck was snapped.
Yeah.
But he had a certain amount of pleasure in that. And I realized he set that whole thing up. He made sure the cage door wasn't shut.
Yeah.
Bonnie came out,
Yeah.
And
the cats are domesticated. It's like, but they're still killing machines. Like, we have a slight problem in Australia.
That was a rat. The cat's going to kill a rat, of course.
Yeah, exactly. In Australia, we have feral cats, and they're kind of worse than tigers, because they're so small and they've gone total feral. And I have a cat with me, and she's non-violent, and we get on quite well. But my arms are scratched because nature designed them as a killing machine. And that's
I'm saying about the evil nature of children, how they could.
The cat took the opportunity, but the opportunity was given to the cat by your brother, and it's just the example of and
and he was like 5 years older than me or something, so he knew what he was doing, and killed my most loved guinea pig, Bonnie.
And that sucks because having a pet, you have a relationship with the pet. There's a reason they're there, and you don't want that.
So anyways, the point of the moral of the story is what they're doing to Shockley. They knew he had 3 children. When you take and you throw their father in the brig, you're putting pressure on that whole family. I've seen it over and over and over what they did to
Mm-hmm.
me with all my 5 small children, and so they just make sure that everybody's damaged. I mean, they are childish and evil in that way, but
Yeah.
fortunately, you know, his beating wasn't too long. It was only about a week or so, and so now he's at home. Yeah.
And the only thing is he did. It's all about optics and it not saving face per se, but it's that level of like, well, hang on, one of our military have made us look bad in the public eye, and so we have to punish him in a certain way.
Yeah.
And
the Bagram Air Base now is under control. It's 10 times the size of Afghan Kabul airport. I mean, it's a modern day behemoth. It's like
it's a
give me
city.
Another airport like that. It's a giant one.
I'm just thinking Denver, but that because I'm just thinking globalist.
Right.
But
it's like
but
Garcia,
it's that
Garcia, that where you put all the bombers and stuff. I mean, like 10 runways. Each one's got 10,000 foot, runway. That's tens
of billions of equipment has been given. Now, why I brought in Afghanistan is because there's been reports. And for the dear listeners, HiJacker and I, we don't know everything 100%. And so we're just playing with the information we have, and then we're playing the wait and see game. So we're not giving a sermon on the mount, but we're trying to figure out what's going on, because you don't want to watch the mainstream media with what they're talking about, because they're constantly lying. And
but the very fact that the very fact that you get a Xi Jinping making a call to Biden means there's some kind of movement, and you dovetail that with the multi-billion-dollar deal that China's now is going to do with Australia. Something's up. We don't know what, but something's up. Go ahead.
And China, apparently they've sent representatives to Afghanistan because obviously the US is not there. And so they're trying to work with the Taliban as well. And people have mentioned correlation with all the American technology in the weaponry and everything else like that, where China, but other people said China's already got it. And so, Afghanistan, if you look at the history of Afghanistan, there's a reason it's called the graveyard of empires, because all empires go there, and after they finish their role in that country, they basically collapse. The British Empire took a while, but they were there in the late 1800s. A classic example is the Soviet Union. We won't bring up Rockefeller and it's a paper tiger, but did they leave in 80? They left in the 80s anyway, with their tail between their legs, because they couldn't conquer the people and all that type of stuff.
Well, then we were feeding them. We were giving them the Stinger.
Oh yeah, well,
there was missiles, which was knocking out their massive helicopters, which that's what gave them dominance over the Taliban. Once the Taliban could start knocking those choppers down, it was ball game.
Yeah,
it was over.
If you stand watching, I've gone blank now. He's oh no,
Charlie Wilson's War.
Yeah, Charlie Wilson's War, and I can't. Why can't I remember his name? It's he plays Forrest Gump. That guy. The name just eludes me right now. But Charlie Wilson's War is worth watching at least once if you're fascinated of what the history is. Now, it is a Hollywood movie, but the premise is still there, where the US were funding the freedom fighters. The same people now called terrorists, but because it was during the Cold War and the Soviet Union, the United States government was helping the people out.
Right,
now,
even Hillary Clinton at a Senate subcommittee hearing, she says, "Well, don't you know that we were the ones that originally funded Al Qaeda?" She was talking about that. Yeah, go ahead.
And the thing is, because of that experience, there are people still alive today that went through that in Afghanistan. They couldn't trust the American military, because they've seen it before, and that didn't help the progress of 2 decades. It's longer than Vietnam, and then you had just the withdrawal, and that's why that gentleman, Shackley, that gentleman that unfortunately been screwed over, pointed out there's still Americans still in there in Afghanistan. Glenn Beck actually chartered a private plane and tried to get people out, but was denied. that's the level of like. There's so much hypocrisy that we're seeing in the last 18 months. It's baffling where people are choosing sides. Where no, they're doing it the right thing. Like what? You've got
Well,
the child. Yeah.
it does look like you are right in that what appears to be going on is that the globalists somehow they've decided to play the musical chairs. They can't let the domino of China fall, and so there's been a trade. They're trading off Australia, supply line breakups in the United States, economic collapse in China. They're trading all that off for Taiwan, and they're talking about. I think they're going to just fly plane loads of high delegation business people, political people, military people, and they're just going to show up and say, we're leaving everything as is. We're just here as a commission to help graft in Taiwan, the financial system. But that looks like a trade's been made.
Yeah, a corporate merger, not takeover. It's a merger because if it's a takeover, it's aggressive. It's a merger of Taiwan and China going. Thank you, Flippy, in the chat. Tom Hanks. I have no idea why my brain just went completely devoid of Tom Hanks. It's interesting from an Australian point of view where there's been hints like last year. The Prime Minister said, "Oh, we're going to in a post-COVID world, we'll be building up our military." And it's like, okay, who told you what? Why do you think that? And so, from an Australian point of view, where we have China is our friend because we trade, we have a lot of Chinese people here. We've had Chinese in Victoria at least for over 150 years because of the gold fields from 1850 onwards. A lot of it's similar to the United States, except for the slavery and the building of the railways. But there's a large contingent of even in Vancouver as well, because there's a lot of Chinese people and they're spread out.
Well, I mean, the Chinese helped build the Australian railroad too. I mean, it's just not the United States.
Yes, yeah, Australia actually has to. So it's basically where we're going to keep China in check so they don't start expanding like an empire, but we're also going to be extremely friendly and buy their stuff. And it's like that's a very thin line to walk.
Yeah, so I got to ask you, when did they decide to lift the international flight? Has that happened recently?
The idea came up this week. Maybe the Thursday or Friday last week. In the last 7 days, the idea has been put forward, and they're thinking November. I believe they're using the percentage of vaccinated people. When all of Australians get to a certain point, then we can start opening up, which is kind of weird because I can't go to New South Wales, I can't. There's certain states that are blocking everyone else. Which is it's like, so we can't travel internally, but we can leave. We can go to New York. Like, well, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So if they're doing that, then that means there's some kind of thaw, which means that instead of us expecting a wave of death, like that John Looney, that funeral director, talked about in UK, maybe they're delaying it. Maybe Taiwan card is given the whole world another 6 months, a year. Maybe there's actually been a delay that we don't even know about.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Mainly, well, I mean, let's go high woo conspiracy theory, and take the safeties off and just talk weirdness. If they want to depopulate and control the world with one government, they can't do it at the moment because everything's falling apart. And there's the amount of protests around the planet at this point in time, it's everywhere. And if it's such a, what's the word, precarious moment, because if they do a bold thing, like as an example, China rolls tanks into Taiwan, that shifts people's minds and their decision making of like, well, hang on, that's wrong. You know what I mean? They can't do something bold because they'll lose the support of the people. in that. Now, someone that I do support, and here's people. We've been joined by Cortek. How are you, sir?
Hooray!
Hello, you've found us. I did, change the.
I really took it on board what you were saying last week. The subtle next week's time is going to be very different. So it wasn't a time thing. I was just super busy.
Yeah, well, someone's got a life. So at the moment, we're just talking a bit globally. HiJacker's shared some information from.
So Cortex, did you catch Monty and I's dialogue for the last 45 minutes?
I missed that. HiJacker, what'd you find?
Oh wow, it's too in depth.
I'll condense it if I can. Biden, Xi Jinping had a conversation, and apparently there's going to be a corporate merger of Taiwan and China, which HiJacker saw what channel was it? Where it was a guy sharing this information, and HiJacker's just
this guy used to be a CIA agent. He's a Jewish guy that became a Christian. He's got good information on some things, but he just won't give the globe up. Anyways, despite that.
It's interesting. Even if it's only something that he's come up with, it's interesting thinking about these things to see if they're a possibility, no matter who comes up with them,
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And
through his contacts, he basically says that once Biden realized that Xi Jinping was not playing around and he was going to do this Christmas to New Year's play where they peacefully, or however they're going to do it, and that nothing was going to stop them because China's back was against the wall as far as energy, economic collapse, food, global, supply chain, the whole works, the things that are going on in Australia, that Biden took it over to the Pentagon chiefs of staff. They ran through the computer simulators, and they realized outside, didn't matter what scenario, outside of like a full thermonuclear exchange, where now you're down to, if you're going to go total war, you're going to blow the Three Gorges Dam. That's 400 million people dead. So, you got to have, you got to be pretty evil guy to go that far.
Yeah. But, if you weren't before, you would be after.
And so Biden then called back Xi Jinping, and he says, let me reiterate the original Taiwan agreement, that we won't put a diplomatic and give diplomatic recognition of Taiwan as a sovereign nation. We'll consider them a part of China. However, you will not take Taiwan by force. So it's one of these kind of agreements.
And obviously
reiterate that. That's the thing, It's like telling the Chinese, well, if you want to fly a couple plane loads of officials in there and peacefully do it, we're not going to do nothing. And so it's basically, it looks like they traded Taiwan off in order to save both the United States economic collapse and Australia. It looks like a trade's been made. Go ahead.
How would that save both the countries economically? Obviously, Taiwan doesn't want this merge with China.
Not particularly, but
they can fold their systems. They're not in debt like everybody else.
Yeah,
Taiwan is a major manufacturing power. People don't know that.
Yeah, because
Taiwan's a powerhouse.
Yeah, remember in the 80s, everything was made in Taiwan.
Yeah,
and now it's in China. But the way that it's been, we sort of, I figured it out, is that China could be making Taiwan look like the hero of the piece, where it's like you can come in and you can join China, and because you're not connected to us, you don't, because there's that Chinese economic crap going on.
That's what you were saying when I just joined in. Okay, so anything. There's no respect taking anything by force, is there? There needs to be better ways to do things. Even though, as Jacker says, they probably ran the system, the simulations, and whatever, and you found out that either way they couldn't really do anything about it.
As well as there's that thing of the world is so precarious, no one can make a bold move like that, where there's all the protesting, and you don't really want a hot war where there's destruction, because that will be a distraction. In a certain way, where people won't really be squabbling that much, and the outcry against China for making that move, they'll get the whole world. Even Russia would step in and say, "What are you doing? Stop that."
Yeah, and then the other thing is, if you follow the money and you take a look, so the Chinese have got red books, and the Taiwanese have got black books, and you put Jewish Babylonian economic godmen in the middle of that, they take both those set of books, they come up with a whole complete different set of financial instruments, and then the Jew says, now we have a purple book. We have a red book and a black book. Now we get a third book. It's called the purple book, and now we got a different financial system. So,
which is interesting because
your fingerprints are somewhere in there.
Yeah. Well, before pandemic, lockdown, all that stuff, the global economy was kind of stuffed anyway, and was slowly decaying, and the weight of it is going to crush itself. And then you've got let's bring in Klaus Schwab. Nearly said his nickname. I'll mention that later. With the whole Great Reset, where it's like, hang on, you're the people that are creating the problem. Why should we listen to your solution? You've had your chance.
You've had your chance.
Yeah, go away.
Is this the Mattel Klaus model with the pointy shoulder pads?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, the German that likes to dress like he's in feudal Japan. It's weird.
That's a collector's item, that action figure now.
Yeah, of course it would be, because it doesn't look like the Great Reset is good. See, these plans are so going ahead.
Look, Monty, one thing you could look at, I can't really do it off my old laptop here, but maybe you could, Cortex.
What is it?
Look at the Asian markets tonight. If you see that they're all through the roof, the ones in Japan, Australia.
This news was Beijing. From today, was it?
This happened today. This happened in the last 12 hours. All this stuff's going back and forth. That's why I'm here. There's something important happened.
If there's anything massive like that kind of really did happen, you'll see people trying to take advantage of it pretty much straight away.
Especially, especially where apparently, according to HiJacker, from what he's seen, remember China, because of the submarine deal, China shut down some of their trading stuff, but they've opened it up back again. And I'm wondering,
reversal. In fact, it's more than a complete reversal. Now it's supposed to be such a big deal that everything that they were supposed to buy in the last year, when this whole trade war where they tried to grab Australia by the neck and just tried to strangle the hell out of you guys, they're saying, tell you what, we want all that stuff back, all that coal, all that wheat, and all that stuff that you all come up with, we want it back. It's like a big deal. It's like a $100 billion deal, 200 bits. It's something.
So it's kind of like blackmailing stuff off the table. If you didn't do this, then we won't do that kind of thing.
Right.
I imagine that goes on a fair bit.
Yeah, a bit of posturing.
Why is China all of a sudden completely changed?
Yeah.
And why is Biden all of a sudden saying, like, Taiwan's, your bastard child, and if you could whip it enough to get it in line without, hurting it too bad, we won't do anything. I mean, what's going on here?
Well, if Taiwan enters the Chinese economy, they could prop up, start dealing with debt in a certain way where it wouldn't be just a massive hole and it would collapse. Now, the thing is,
I'm telling you, Monty, I'm telling you.
For that to work, though, for Taiwan, you just can't have Taiwan join in and go, here we are, because all that would get sucked down the debt hole. You need to move currency as well as productivity.
You need to move China into Taiwan.
Yeah,
don't worry.
West Taiwan, yes.
I'm telling you, the Jewish Babylonian economic godmen, they are masters at this. They're relishing this deal. Don't believe me. They got the angles worked out.
Yeah, they need to move. They actually, because it's called money is very close to water, where you have banks and it's currency, and that energy needs to actually move. And so by China doing, if they're getting that injection from Taiwan, they'll actually start buying things. And then, because a lot of China, when they buy stuff, it's not like, oh, I bought a wheelbarrow for the house. It's like, no, I bought all this lumber and I've built a boat, and they get stuff, make things, and then sell it to everyone else. And so it's a knock-on effect in that sort of thing. They take things, change it, and then sell it on. And so you've got that flow going. and they could be with the money magic masters, they've figured out a way of like we've got an idea, we've got a plan, but we need we've got pipelines set up metaphorically, and we need actual money, which is the water, to go through these pipelines to make it work.
And probably a money pump of sorts.
Well, but China's talked about an 85-mile, and they say they can do it. They got the technology, an 85-mile in the Straits of Taiwan, 85-mile undersea tunnel from China to Taiwan. They actually got it already mapped out. It's 85 miles. They say they could do it. They say they could do it like within 5 years. So,
yeah, and it'll be massive too, because local reference here in Melbourne, we're building a new train tunnel. It's called the Metro Tunnel, and it goes for 5 kilometres to 2.5 miles, or even longer. And it's been built really quickly. Like the drilling was really quickly, and they've got drilling machines, and they're about 2 men high. So they're minimal. So because you just need it, just itty bitty little ones. I've seen photos of where it's 16 men high. Level, massive. The classic Saturn rockets that went to the moon allegedly. We won't get into that. But you've seen, they've got, like in Houston, they have one of those rockets lying down on its side, and it's like, look, this is a Saturn rocket, and those things are huge, and these drill things are bigger. And that's 60s technology in size, and
it's
so
pretty
they have
amazing engineering.
Yeah, and then the reports of the tunnels underneath the United States. There's footage of trucks just drive. It's basically a highway, but it's through a cave. It's that big. And then, dare I say, from Sean David Morton's book, Sands of Time, they've got these red line, blue line, where these ceramic modules can go to up to 700 miles per hour, and you can go from Washington to Los Angeles in an hour or something extremely far. It's so fast that you actually get put to sleep by the vibration or something like that. So the technology's out there, as well as just from a natural point of view, typhoons and cyclones and hurricanes. They're all the same thing. It's just different labels on different parts of the planet. A tunnel would make more sense because, there's a reason that England and France, China, that's a very long tunnel, but they've got the channel where it's cars as well as the train, and they've done that because it's unaffected by all the water and everything else like that.
Yeah, I think it's 37 miles, and then they got the longest one is actually Japan built it. And it's something like 40 some miles. I can't think of exactly the mileage, but it goes in between 2 of the islands of Japan. That's a real long. That's the longest one in the world. So
it seems to make sense.
Monty, we're coming up to a break. I got to take 10 minutes off. I'll be right back after the break.
Yep, cool. Yep, that's awesome.
All right.
So Jacker will be back at 4 past the hour or 5 past the hour. Who cares? We'll be here. That's the point. Thank you, Cortek, for coming here. We've got about a minute. So where have you been? What's going on?
Down the shops.
Oh, hello. Leaving the house. Look at me. What we'll do is we'll get into domestic stuff, as well as when HiJacker joins, just the American point of view as well, because a lot of stuff that I watch is actually American.
It's incredibly good to have a boots on the ground point of view there. Definitely.
Exactly, and so we can give small things. Now, it used to be like, oh, you don't talk local, we want to talk globally. It's like, interesting enough, Australia is an example. So now we can talk local of by sharing what we know here in Victoria and New South Wales. It's a cautionary tale for the rest of the planet. And you're aware, London and New York, there have been protests in front of the Australian embassies about the treatment of governments and police with the Australian people.
I've seen that. I've seen New York get up and have a bit of a march.
Yeah. Because
thank you.
Yeah. Well, we're there with you, brave brothers and sisters. Because any other, if it was a third world country, we would have been invaded by now.
We'd have sent tanks in. We'd be demolishing stuff. We'd have the rebuild crews ready to go that we'd profit by. We'd make money from the bullets going in.
Oh, yeah, there'll be companies and exactly everything like that. But it's fascinating. Like I do watch Later Than Crowder because I need to laugh, and I get about 3 or 4 laughs out of that show. So
that sounds worth it.
Yeah, exactly. Because if I watch Devlin Goldbear, that keeps doing it's just so bad. Babylon B actually shared a fake article. I have to be careful now because, well, I think my listeners know it's a parody site. But after 5 years, Stephen Colbert is thinking about. After 5 years of doing evening news, Stephen Colbert is thinking about going back to comedy. And I'm like, oh, zing!
He's left it too long.
Well, yeah, and if you've seen the cringe where he did, it was to the tune of Tequila, but he said vaccine, and he had 4 people dressed as syringes, and they did a dance number, a cringe level 1,000.
I'm sure he got paid well.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he did. You're listening to where are we? Planet Collingwood, Studio A, Revolution Radio. We'll be right back after these messages.
Listen to Revolution Radio.
Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. I just love that, and I'll should explain it a bit later. If you know what I'm talking about, you'll be laughing so much. It's interesting as well. Dr. Fauci has said, we're not sure if we can actually have people over for Christmas. And then someone's put a photo of tens of thousands of people going to a football game in college. And like, yeah, don't know. Yeah, twit. You are listening to Revolution Radio. This is Studio A. The show is Planet Collingwood. My name is Monty Dean. I've been joined by Cortek. And in the green room is HiJacker. And he's getting some walnuts, as one does. If you enjoyed the last hour, please go to freedomslips.com, revolution.radio, either or, and donate what you can. Just a price of a cup of coffee helps out the station because we're 100% listener supported, 100% volunteer. Once you're at the website, have a look at the merchandising. We don't have flamethrowers. We're not Spaceballs or Elon Musk. Definitely not Elon Musk, but we have T-shirts, caps, and cups, and so on and so forth. And then pop into the chat room and hang out with awesome people who like to chat, so you can find out different points of view around the globe. Only in English, because, well, for me, the educational system sucks. So there you go. Now,
and lots of cool links and stuff from people sharing stuff. It's a cool place.
Yeah, yes, yeah. It's our virtual saloon or pub, or that's
saloon's cool. I just got a cowboy hat all of a sudden when you said that.
Yeah. Why do you have spurs on? I don't know. I own a car.
Every time someone says something like that, I just think about just kind of walking through those swinging doors, and then the person on the play piano stops, and everyone just goes,
"Yeah, that weirdo from Sydney's back."
Radio. If I gesticulate with my head, it doesn't.
I was just checking some social media, as one does. It's an addiction. Let's move on. And have you seen the Woody from Toy Story? Obviously, You've seen Toy Story. Yeah, someone's actually put a 3D model of Woody Harrelson as the face. It's so creepy.
Did it work? It probably works ridiculously well.
Yeah, it does. It's like, oh no, it's like this is not the Woody you're looking for. Damn straight. Like that. Go back to the old one. Now, are you familiar with the chant "Let's go Biden"? Let's go Brandon.
No.
I don't remember the chap's last name, but he's called Brandon, and he won his very first NASCAR race. And that's right, he was the first at the line who turned left. And I like how people say, "Oh, you just turn left." Yeah, but there's still an art form. I've seen Fast and the Furious 9.
Yeah,
there's an art form.
You don't want to get pushed into the marbles. Trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or slammed into the wall. However,
take a break.
I
don't even know what it means. It just gets me fired up.
I'm on fire. You're not Will Ferrell. Anyway, there has been a lot of chanting, especially after Afghanistan. There's been a lot of chanting of F Joe Biden everywhere, and it's like the latest thing. It's like the planking craze, not the Tide Pod craze, but the ice challenge craze. Everyone's saying F Joe Biden. Now, this journalist was interviewing Brandon. His first win, good for him, awesome. However, it's
probably international stage for his next words, was it?
Not sure exactly. It was definitely local.
What did he say? Did he say F Joe Biden?
No, let me finish.
Sorry, I thought that's what I said.
No, he was just going, but however, you'll like this, though. Well done, Brandy, doing well. And the crowd seems to be supporting you. They're chanting, let's go Biden. However, for 10 seconds beforehand, the crowd's saying F Joe Biden over and over again. And so she's tried to save the interview. And so now, because, if you say F Joe Biden, people get upset.
It's
so
still
now,
very ostracized word.
Yeah, so the code now is, let's go, Brandon. And so everyone.
Is that a whole new set of memes?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Well, the Hodge twins, if you're familiar with them, they were actually fitness guys, and then they came out as conservative on Ladder with Crowder, and they've had an interesting thing. But they're comedians, and but they've actually released a T-shirt saying "Let's go, Brandon" with FJ, FJB at the bottom. So yeah, the merchandising.
I would not have known what that meant.
There you go. So yeah, from now on, and instead of upsetting the kids by saying F Joe Biden, let's go, Brandon. Now, someone that will take this, and there's code involved. We've been joined by Pony. Pony, are you there?
Yo.
Hey. Oh, he's a little horse. Anyway, I love that gag. How are you, sir?
I've been adjusting my clock for the past 2 days.
Yeah, we had a public holiday in lockdown. That means what? And then we changed our clocks. A third of Australia time traveled, ladies and gentlemen. And so now the show starts at 5 p.m. Melbourne time instead of 4 p.m. And, of course, daylight savings in a 24-hour cycle doesn't mean much, so I don't know why we do it, because the health ramifications is really high, because it's just changing an hour and it throws everyone's circadian.
Well, it's
circadian rhythms.
Yes, that's it. Circadian. Sorry.
So it's you don't realize it. So I had to look at I saw the microwave wasn't changed. That's an old one.
Oh yeah. Well, strangely enough, my car clock, the clock in my car is now telling the right time. Hasn't been for 6 months.
So
I was about to say a future clock, but no.
No one can fix their car clock.
Just leave it. Just leave them in the favorite. It's easy. Just leave them in the favorite season. Though.
Yeah, real time, which is real time.
Daylight savings.
M is for minute.
Yeah, you just hold it down, and then you click one.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I know how to change, but the way that my car is, the dashboard doesn't light up. So unless it's in the dark, I can see it. But I drive during the day and I can't see it anyway. So
who cares?
Yeah, let's move on. Now, in the last 7. Go ahead.
Have you all ever seen a time clock? In other words, time zones. Take a look at somewhere out there on a flat Earth map. Take a look at the time zones. You'll be completely amazed.
Yeah, it would look like a cartwheel. It's very weird. Time zones
Oh yeah, no, it's. So
talking about time zones, what would stop us just saying it's the one time, no matter where you were on the world?
The government agreed to it. The government actually doing. There's the UTC, which is in the middle of the water, but Queensland hasn't had daylight savings since 1972
because the cats.
We'll fade the curtains, and it's all that ridiculousness of it. Arizona doesn't change its time, so it's like this
what
day.
What problems will we run into if we tried to set the one universal time for the whole planet?
Well, there is a guy that's got a clock. His name's David Wise, and he puts the sun directly at 12 noon when it's directly above you on a flat Earth app. I forgot what the app's called, Flat Earth Star Map, or it's an app you can actually put on your phone, in which you can actually take a look. And when the sun is directly above you, as far as being noon, whether it's forward, backwards, but it would be directly above you. He actually has it on the app, and it actually shows you the real time zones. I think it's $2.99. Cheap. David Wise, deep in the rabbit hole. DIVIDE. Deep in the Rabbit Hole. Yeah. $3.
Was it Benjamin Franklin came up with the idea, and it was to help farmers because of daylight. But this is in the 1800s, and so why do we do it now, where you can actually have, you can turn the light on?
You're talking about daylight savings, yeah?
Yeah, the daylight saving. It's basically, it doesn't mean crap at the moment.
I'm just wondering what it. Yeah, no.
But we have been.
It's silly. It's silly.
We have been joined by another West Coast correspondent, the mechanic. How are you, sir? It's been a while.
It has been. It's been quite some time. Too long, actually.
Too long.
Yeah. Oh, easy, Tiger. Easy.
Yeah. Hey, Jacker, how you doing? Listen, I had to chime in. You start going FE on Rev Radio, and I got Jacker's back. So let's continue.
Well, unfortunately, yes. I'm just letting it slip to the side because we have more.
Monty's got his own thing. We can't argue over that.
Well, no, not right now, because there's more important things going on.
Right.
My point of view is always, and this is kind of the end of the subject. We have to figure out who's trying to kill us, and then that question.
Oh, that would be a bunch
later.
of commies. I got that all figured out.
Yeah.
I can pinpoint it.
Well, can I share? Well, have you been watching what's been happening in Australia, Mechanic?
I have.
Yeah, the latest thing is now, because it's been 7 days since Planet Collingwood done its orbit, and that's not having a go at flat earthers.
You have had something fairly positive come out in the last.
But at the same time, it's fascinating. At the same time, now on Friday, Das Führer of Cortek has resigned.
Her name's Glad Wrap Barbecue Chicken.
Because she's been investigated for fraud and corruption. It's only taken 2 years. It should have happened 2 years ago, but timing, interesting.
Just another criminal.
At the same time, our leader here in Victoria gave out a mandate for. We have essential workers, basically. We're in lockdown, but if you're an essential worker, which is about 1 million Victorians, you have to have your first vaccine jab by the 14th or 15th of October.
Frontline workers.
Yeah, frontline workers,
police,
as well as
teachers, hospitals.
Yeah, anyone that's working in lockdown now, bakeries and supermarkets. And so it's like, okay, and if you don't get jabbed, you can't work. And it's like, well, that's high-level tyranny, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? So it's interesting to see what happens there. Yeah, and in the last couple of days, it's the Andrews government, or Daniel Andrews himself, is being investigated for fraud, and he won't resign. So it's all on. It's on like a frog on a sock in a fry pan down here.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
every day that goes past. Oh, great! We've got a date set. We've got Freedom Day set now. It's so not good enough. And each day that passes, and they're just sitting on their hands now, trying to work out a plan how to back out whilst not looking completely incompetent, which everyone knows they were before we even went into this.
And when Andrews came out and said that mandate, Andrew comes out with that mandate, and half the lawyers have said, "The heck you are." And so there's challenges, and so the next week and a half is going to be very interesting here in Victoria. In Queensland, sorry, HiJacker to step in there. In Queensland, the police have mandatory mandates, well, stupid language, mandatory vaccines as well, and about allegedly 1,200 have said no. And so there's the challenging, they need an army to enforce this stuff, but if the army's saying no, and so it's a knock-on effect. Please, HiJacker, go ahead.
Yeah, it was interesting that wench that went full bore one world order just a couple of weeks ago.
Not glad wrap barbecue chicken, but her
chief health medical officer.
Oh yeah,
right. And now all of a sudden she's resigned. So she tried to save her job by going.
She got forced to resign.
They're just trying to save their own skins by resigning, so they're not in the public limelight to take the heat. If they think they're not, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, she first tried to save her skin by going full out 100,000% one world order, and now she's been smacked back on the plate. So that's what
everyone was doubling down at that point.
I have a question for Cortek and Pony. Now, off the top of your head, Cortek, what's the population of New South Wales that are supporting the government mandates, and they're supporting the government. How many? 30%, 50%,
10%.
Right, okay, 10%. Yeah. Well,
are we meant to believe those numbers?
I don't know.
No. I try to word it correctly. Well, I know. Yeah. Just what do you feel? It could change tomorrow. I'm saying in Victoria it's probably about 30%. Pony, what do you feel? Now, it's not. There's no correct answer. I'm just trying to give paint a picture for the audience.
Say vanilla.
Who's what?
Say vanilla.
No, how many people do you think are supporting the government? Because if there's lockdowns and a lot of people, is it 50%? It's around about 50%. Yeah.
It never got
divided all down the middle. So
yeah, I think it's. Go on. I think it's slightly more. I think it's slightly more. I don't think it ever pushed beyond. Really. I think at the last U.S. election, I think we hit that critical 50% or over that 50% critical mass, and I think all these numbers. Oh, we'll do this when we reach 80% or 90%. All of these fictitious figures, and we're like at 78.5% now. Come on, you're doing such a good job. It's just like another painting a picture of trying to make them look competent, like they've got a big mission accomplished banner behind them.
Yeah. Have you noticed the goalposts have wheels? They keep moving them. All 70% and 80%, 90%. Yeah.
They always keep moving.
This one, the second kill shot for America is on November 22, which was JFK's kill shot day.
Yeah, we can bring in our cousins in America. The kicking of the can of the debt ceiling has been, I think it's, is it November or something? Yeah, it's like they did. Yeah, pattern recognition. It's the same story. Like, we're about to close down. Sometimes they close down to 3 weeks. Other times, they pass something and they just kick the can down the road.
It makes the problem bigger, does it not?
Mm-hmm.
Any avoidance of a problem, especially a financial one like that.
Yeah,
we're coming to a head on it.
That's the feeling I'm getting. It's like, finally something's happening, and really, but there's people. Yeah, there's people like you've seen on social media. I'm fully vaccinated. You can thank me. It's like, shut up.
Yeah, someone really that would take a slap in the face.
What are you going to do when you get the 5th booster? Because they're talking about a 3rd booster next year.
It's just if you have gone down that road now, and a lot of people have, because a lot of people didn't want to really acknowledge stuff and push on through that cognitive dissonance on 9/11. So this is like their first false flag. Like millennials are taking it really hard that their whole life, which is social media, has been somehow not true to them. This is just something they don't want to believe.
The numbers I don't see from the government, self-harm, that's through the roof. The amount of suicides, that's through the roof.
That's more than COVID deaths, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Drug abuse, fentanyl, etc.
Yeah, now in the United States, it's slightly different because it seems to be red states and blue states, because Texas and Florida seems to be having a party, but California is tripling down.
Where's Viking? We need a California report.
Well, mechanic's in California. Ask him.
Yeah. Hello.
Sorry,
it's the accent. Hey, it's the accent. Hey. I'm not from New York. All right.
Yeah, the accent's total bullshit. Listen, I'm surrounded by a bunch of commies. It's literally 40 miles to the nearest safe haven to where you can find people with any kind of rational logic thought.
Yeah.
They have a decent sheriff. He was on his way out. The new guy running, I happen to be, an acquaintance with, and I think I'll probably be a part of the campaign, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, it's a shit show in America right now. And I don't think it's divided down the line. I think it just happened to be in an area that's just secured by this leftist communist scum.
How come California?
It's different. Go ahead.
How come California seems to have lost it so much? Is it from particular people?
Democrats took over. Yeah. Moonbeam. Go ahead, Monty.
Left-wing politics. Okay, I'll give you an example which is disgustingly shocking. If you have HIV and you have sex with someone, you don't have to tell them you have HIV.
That doesn't seem right, does it?
Yeah, they've actually made that a law.
I'm not sure if it's something that should be mandated either way, but to say it doesn't sound right. It doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the whole government controlling everything, but the thing of like, if you're going to sleep with someone, you have to tell them that they could contract a deadly disease.
And if you know that, I think that's just good manners, isn't it?
Well, yeah, you've got manners, but California.
Monty, you've got 2 hours, and that's the topic you see in people's heads.
Yeah, well, just using that as an example, there's so many more, and Newsom apparently got back in, and they had mail-in ballots, and it's like, I'm sorry, every American. Well, actually, it's globally. I don't trust any election. Well, I did beforehand, but I really don't now. Like any election, it's like, yeah, sure, whatever.
No, and it takes a statement of saying that to yourself. Do you trust these elections? Do I trust any elections? Do I trust? Is anything going to be? Look, we're in a situation where still these people doing this think things are going to be solved by. They think that the politics and the politicians and everything like that are just replaceable Punch and Judy characters. They can just retire one or tell one you better duck out. No one really no one really likes you. There's no real future in it for you. Barrelaro or whatever barbecue chicken's name is.
There's a slogan that's popped up from critical thinkers. You cannot comply your way out of tyranny.
That's the whole thing. There's no replacing these politicians for anyone that anyone will trust ever again.
Well, there is that. I mean, also in New South Wales, you had on Friday the Premier resign due to a corruption probe. Woo-hoo. There was on I think the Saturday or the Sunday, another senior minister who decided I'm going to go from state to federal politics. I think that's what's there. Then on correct me if I'm wrong, Cortek, Monday or Tuesday, you had the is it Vice Premier? Deputy Premier of New South Wales. Yeah, he's got, it's time to go after 10 years. It's like, yeah, but there's all this corruption hanging around you, and you're in a defamation case with a YouTuber at the moment, which is Friendly Jordans.
So he's the guy who called basically the goon squad, basically the powers that were granted to government in the bills that they pass in the dead of night when no one's listening, just before holiday or just before government goes on holiday, that finally come into act when politicians like this want to just try and make some kind of statement, thinking he is somebody. He called out the goon squad on these guys and got the producer of this YouTuber guy who really just does his homework and calls out the corruption and just the lack of anything going on in politics, more than people just kind of feathering their own nest. People want people who are in there who want to do things for other people.
The goon squad's title is Person of Interest Squad.
Person of Interest Squad.
Yeah, which is basically anti-terrorism.
They didn't even have any imagination coming out with a good name like Eagle Raptor Squad or something like that.
No. So,
goons.
Yeah, goons. Oh, okay.
I watched the whole thing of him kind of he's kind of stepping down speech, just hoping he'd shed a tear, but it's all fake. He's just a slug. Just another. We don't really need state politics, really. Well, actually, I mean, it's just been a forum where people have just been constantly ripping it off one after the other. It's not whether someone's doing a good job, but whether someone is doing anything at all.
I think the states, in a way, need more power, because I wouldn't give them federally. Because why would it's? I mean, in Queensland, there's people that want to split the state in half, because Brisbane, it's like nearly 1,000 kilometres long.
We need local, and state seems like it's doing nothing.
Oh, of course not.
Federal kind of seems like it's doing nothing too.
Jeez. You're right, Pony. It is only 2 hours. Moving on.
I just want to send an apology to Gladys. I thought she was someone else. Turns out she was Armenian. So my apologies to the Armenian community.
Apologize to the community, but don't apologize to Glad Rat Barbecue Chicken.
Yeah, I was going to say to Cortek, you can't. Please don't refer to politicians as animals, because those animals are lovely. They have a use in the ecosystem. If you call John
slur on the animals,
exactly. If you call John Barilaro a slug, you're insulting all those slugs that do good work.
What do they do?
for a
Those
reason.
slugs are weird things. I'm not sure if they do anything.
Well, basically, the snails
Mm.
that lost the house in the divorce.
Speed snails.
Yeah.
I had
If you
one of
watch
those.
Dan Andrews, you can see like he faults. You can see him. He's like, one of them's going to break. There's an old video clip of Mal Meninga, the rugby player. He went into politics.
Who bloody Meninga is.
And he was being interviewed, and he was acting like a Polly. And then just like that, he snaps and goes, "I can't do this. I can't do this." And he walks out.
That's the whole acting thing, you know.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
John Andrews. Who's John Andrews? Lovely guy.
It's Dan's brother.
Oh, I hope not. It's like he's no brother of mine. Dan Andrews has been caught out in so many lies in the last 18 months. Where April last year they announced they're going to spend $1.3 billion US, Australian. So that's about $1.55 US. On 4,000 ICU beds. And the question came up last week. It's like, no, that's not what was said. And let's just go to the footage. And that's what she actually said.
Yeah.
And now the question is, where did the $1.3 billion go? I mean, the Victorian Police have a shiny new tank, but then I found out that was bought in 2018.
Yeah, they got that stuff ages ago.
Also, I don't see anyone tourism. They're not going to come to Australia because of the level of tyranny. What else?
It's over, Monty. It's over.
Yeah, no, it's like, thank you, universe. I just ended up in Melbourne to save it. Really?
It really is over.
It's why you're there, Monty.
This worldwide thing, they're all zombie, brainwashed, freaking. Take it.
But I can see the mind control though. I can see where it's so believable. But then you try people.
See the headline will give you $1 million.
Okay. Like if the vaccine's supposed to help you against this disease, why is this all bribery and coercion?
Oh my God! How dirty pedo candy van is it? It's just the whole, you know, ooh, give you donuts. Ooh, over here we've got Xboxes if you funnel into the competition for it. It just seems so sus.
Hey, Victorian population, you want a lolly? You just pop into the van. You'll be all right.
Get it, close the door.
No, I'm a friend of your mum's. It's all right.
Yeah, put those shackles on it for safety.
Yeah, all right. Go ahead, Tony.
The double helix himself has been the forefront of this. It's because he's got the double helix DNA in his name. Dan Andrews. DNA.
Oh, yeah.
And if that's an extra helix, I don't want to go there.
let's expand it out to a bit of global, or just including the United States. How funny is Fauci? Like, I mean,
it's strange.
Well,
like,
how is anyone still listening
honestly,
to him?
I don't find the guy funny anymore. I find him very dangerous.
Yes, well, he's still there after everything that's been pointed out. He's constantly lied.
He has withstood hurricane after hurricane after hurricane, and he is still standing.
How come he's still got a job?
Because that's what they want. They want him there because he's the focal point. They've actually made children's books about him.
Oh, my God.
Well,
I saw a story about ex-mayor Giuliani. Apparently he's switched now and saying that he was brainwashed by the internet.
Well,
the internet did it. No one's buying the Russians anymore. Say the internet.
Well, speaking of internet, have you seen the whistleblower from Facebook?
You mean of why it crashed the other night?
No.
Yeah,
she said.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think 60 Minutes is shown on Sunday in the United States.
Still going.
Yeah. Well, you need a propaganda arm.
You say it. I'll do the text.
No, because I just see small insects biting into me.
As you are.
60 Minutes, get them off.
As you are.
She went on 60 Minutes on the weekend and basically said, I joined Facebook to stop all the conspiracy theories. I lost a person to it, blah, blah, blah. It's basically controlled opposition because Project Veritas, however many moons ago, got actually someone with a whistleblower from Facebook with receipts pointing out how Facebook is manipulating everything through algorithms and all that type of stuff. And now she comes out and says, oh, look, misinformation and, January 6th and blah, 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 and the media are lapping her up. and she looks like a plant. Now she did that, as I said, did the interview on Sunday, and what was it, yesterday? So Monday, US time, Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp were down.
148 moons ago.
Yeah, in my timeline, yes. But
let me work that out. Shit.
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp were down for 6 hours. Luckily for the three of us, we were sleeping, but everyone else freaked out, and it was fascinating. And then she turned up in, as a mechanic just said, she testified in front of Congress. And I'm not a big fan of Ted Cruz, but I do like him occasionally. I don't know his background and all that type of stuff, but recently he seems to be a bit of a gun. As the kids would used to say. Where he's
is he a good guy? Mechanic HiJacker?
That dude took for this is my understanding, took a $500,000 campaign finance check from Sachs.
Yeah, so he's not 100% awesome.
That's what they all do that, though.
Yeah, but he's been doing awesome things.
He plays when he needs to, and he goes hard when it makes him look good when he's rerunning.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So I wanted to word it correctly, where it's like he's a god. It's like he seems to be doing, but if it's self-serving, at least we understand.
The smartest thing he's done.
He plays politics. He does. He's the only guy so far that I've seen that has really produced heavily against the entire narrative is Rand Paul, and I don't even believe I'm saying that, but it's absolutely 100% the truth. Rand Paul is a beast at this point. So I mean,
I think I sort of fell into it because everyone called me a Trump supporter. It's like, no, I'm just attacking the Clintons and everyone else because of the hypocrisy of like, oh, Trump said something. Yeah, the Clintons did that.
Yeah,
I'm worried about that. But the thing is, you fall into that trap of the basics. You're in the political sandbox where instead of having a human being in there trying to do well for other human beings, you fall into that trap of it's left, right, a Republican, Democrat. You know, it's that sort of mindset. And so, like as you said, Rand Paul has been doing well on the field, especially having a go at Fauci. But I mean, once again, that's without knowing his background and other things he's done in the last year and a half. You can see some of the players in there. It's still a shit show. It's still politics.
They've all participated in bills that strip Americans of their prosperity, their rights, their futures, their children's futures. Right now, there are thousands. The real important things. We've got to talk about the important stuff here.
Yeah.
There are thousands of cargo ships surrounding this country.
Yes, we mentioned that in the first hour. And,
is that because they can't get in?
Sure, you guys mentioned that, but it gets worse.
Yeah, well, is it now? A question for you. It is. There's a lot, and I think bureaucracy is stopping them. They're just sitting out there waiting.
That's right.
The produce is already at the doorstep. Government, as an example, is holding it up.
States, and the blue states have the borders. Imagine that.
Yeah, we're an open country unless we don't want stuff to come in. Yeah, it's fascinating.
So, it's going to happen. Yeah, I got a take on this. I got a model, if you will. I think there's going to be a reroute of all these ships to Texas and Florida, and one by one they just nail it. They just boom, get them done.
Yeah,
both coasts.
It's got to be logistic routes to do it.
Choice.
Yeah, and that will boost the trucking industry as well, because if it's only is that the South Coast, or am I making things up? Because you've got East Coast, West Coast.
That's right.
Yeah, South Coast. Yeah, yep. If everything's going through there, you need the trucking side of things.
That's right.
And they can go everywhere.
That's right. Hopefully the Panama Canal. That's the thing.
Yes, for and
the Chinese control that, and also some of the super carriers. They can't make it through the Panama Canal. It's not been upgraded to the.
Well, Chinese got bigger problems, Jack. Their DP, they're about on the brink of collapse, and then they're going at Biden, suggesting that they're going to go ahead and tamper with Taiwan without America's interference, and Biden's going to take a knee to China and stand down while that goes down right in the middle of Christmas. That's what's coming. That's what they got on tap. But then you got the military. They're talking. I mean, I want to read this. I don't know. Maybe I'll copy and paste it into the host chat, and you guys can.
No. This affects Australia. What affects Taiwan? It affects Australia. They have a symbiotic relationship.
I know. I kind of want to get into this, but I'm going to post it in there. And if Monty wants to run through it, he can. Here it comes. Okay. It's lengthy, but I think it's worth a read. It really covers a lot of things. It looks to be some type of intelligence that was received. There you go, guys. Take a look at this. I mean, it's
wow, chapter 17. Wow.
Yeah, right. I mean, this is the 11/11 update to RV, etc. from multiple sources. They're talking about the IMF and Iraq. Chatter is fantastic. They're just talking about IMF. I mean, that's the International Monetary Fund.
Yeah, I sort of mentioned last hour that obviously the global structures have allowed this to happen, or they've got their finger in the pie type deal, where I don't think it's Biden. I'm sure it's someone else, and Biden's in the room going, "I like chocolate." Thank you.
That's my next flavor of ice cream. I have dementia. Listen to this. The whole world goes to a level of playing field, right? Think re-evaluation of all currencies. Revaluation of all currencies. Furthermore, the whole world goes back to 1950s prices. 1955, the chosen year, post-crash.
What happens to the debt then? Because that, for me, that's always been the problem on this planet. We have to pay the debt, and
just gets washed.
Okay,
let's just wash it out and bring paddle pops cost you 20 cents.
Against humanity, exactly. Here, foreign electro interference, right? Foreign election interference globally. Think Chinese military companies. Think Evergrande, right? Evergrande is going through what right now? Complete collapse. Right.
Yes. And that affects the United States, especially Australia as well. Well, interesting enough, now they had their Belt and Road initiative, but they're so cheap on building materials, everything's falling apart. That's why I think there was an earthquake in China as well, and some of the dams have started to crack, and so they're like, "Ooh, that's not good."
That's not good. Belt and Road, but no pants.
By the way, the Evergrande, the other Evergrande debacle, it is 10 times the size of the Lehman Brothers, whatever it was in 2008. That's how big it is. It's 10 times that size.
Yeah, and that's almost a kill shot of the economy.
Oh yeah, I mean, Jacker, they got entire ghost cities vacant. We're talking
that was 10 years ago.
And it's still there. We're talking 60, 70-story buildings vacant, condos ready and waiting. What are they going to put there?
Surely some randos have moved in the penthouse by now.
Actually, they just blew up 15 of them at one time for whatever reason.
Target practice.
Something's coming.
Overheating of the real estate.
I don't know what China's going to look like, but I don't know.
Well, you go a little bit woo. Cliff I has been sharing stuff. I just watch it because it's fascinating. Max Egan as well, if that's your cup of tea. And
I listened to Max Egan today, actually. Go ahead.
And some astrologers have pointed out that September, October is going to be very, very iffy, and major shifts and some revealings of stuff. So yeah,
it starts with the full moon. The 20th.
Well, actually, if
maybe it's an eclipse. I think it might be an eclipse.
Yeah, well, I can go back to the last full moon, because the energy-wise, from my perspective, that full moon, which was a day or 2 days just ahead of the equinox, that whole week for people that I know, everything just felt really out of whack and run down, and so this full moon as well would sort of ramp everything up.
And you got the eclipse. I think the eclipse is on November 20th, so you got an eclipse coming up.
Which kind of makes sense if China goes to Taiwan for the corporate merger after Christmas, because that's after the solstice. being the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere. And
listen, what's the name of the Australian stock market? I just want to see what they're doing today after this announcement.
What is it? The
ASX.
ASX. Yeah.
ASX. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me look at it.
Yeah, because we're, as I said, our Prime Minister said, "I will open up to international travel," and everyone's like, "Well, that's great because only one state can go, which is New South Wales, or maybe Western Australia."
We see through your thinly veiled lies.
Yeah. But also, it's a lot of people like where. I was going to mention.
What
I find Have you noticed only independent and alternative media and people with a brain and a heart that care are basically appalled of the police brutality that's happening in this country? No other government is actually condemned. Well, actually, I catch myself. The Republicans actually said we should think about sanctions against Australia. That was last week. But apart from that,
economic sanctions are going to help the people a lot.
Oh well, that's true. But the point is,
the old,
sorry, the old what?
Are we going to continue woo? Because I have some woo for you.
I had a little bit of sorry, you first.
Let Pony finish his idea,
woo
and
first.
then
I got a little bit of woo.
Do it.
Before we get too far into woo, which I hope we do, you got to picture the cartoon of, say, the conveyor belt with the box on each slot, and then COVID stops it, and it just piles up until eventually it collapses. So that's what we're seeing, I think, just that.
100%.
I don't know when.
Everything that could be stopped, like small to medium business stopped, and everything that couldn't be stopped should pile up on itself like that. Yeah.
And that goes back to my example last hour about the economy, like the Chinese economy. They'll bring in the Taiwan, but they need to move that energy / money because it can't just sit there. If it sits there, if it stagnates, that's the problem about these really rich people. They just hold all the money, and
that comes down to feeding people.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Mechanic. Let's hear your.
Wait.
Cortek, the Cortek, and the Mechanic.
Side woo from what you were posting before. What's everyone's take on the numbers 1111 to them? What does it mean?
Well, personally, or because it could be
just the time of the day, the 1111 reference to a date, anything. Does it mean anything to anyone?
I've got about 17. The premise of it is that it's an acknowledgement of code in the simulation, and I'm just if everything that all that is, was, and will be is the imagination of God in simple terms, it's the hologram, not a false one like in the Matrix. Just we're still in just the way that consciousness works. It's a signpost of like you're doing well, or you should be
when
more
you're
aware
able
here.
to notice it. Okay,
yeah. Or it's just you've thought about it and it keeps popping up because you're creating it at the same time. So it could mean many things.
I've seen.
What was the event?
When you see 1111, whether it's time of day or the numbers are repeating, whether it's just some simple pattern recognition of the same number 4 times, it could be as simple as that. But I've seen there's a number that you can multiply with, and 1111. There's this beautiful kind of pyramid of numbers they're like, what's the same when a word's the same forwards as it is backwards? Something. Palindrome. So it's like a mathematical palindrome. When you see 1111, I saw it once, but I never took that much notice. 11 it does exist. Great story.
I would say 11 past 11, like 11:11 a.m. or 11:11 p.m. because they're asking like the date. 11:11, which interesting enough is Armistice Day or Remembrance Day, and I think in the US it's Memorial or Veterans Day. Is when the World War One had that treaty kick in on the 11th day of the 11th month at the 11th hour.
It's super interesting, even that pattern's formed.
Yeah,
a funneling of energy.
Yeah, numerology, and it's fascinating of just the energy of 11 or the 2 1s, and it could
and
represent
so much bigger too. Like
I get that's what. Yeah, it's only a 2-hour show, Cortek. So
sorry, super random left.
No. It, I think we'll add to everything like going to the wolves. Like we don't know 100% what is happening in consciousness, because basically it points out that the false reality that the mainstream media is putting forward is false.
It's so ridiculously false, though. When we're thinking, I would like a government department of just frivolous ideas.
I would just like a group of people doing it, not the government, because the government governments are proving that they suck.
They're going to get lobbied, and they're going to have results that are skewed to suit their own means.
Yeah, but what happens if you've got a 24-hour clock? Is it 23:11? Is that the same? Anyway, Mechanic, go ahead.
Well, 2 points. One, I think we got between now and the 15th before the shit show really comes down the pipe. I've seen this number, the 15th, a few times now, not just in this little dialogue that I sent you guys, but
yes.
Tony, do we have any astrological alignments around then?
Let him finish.
Sure, but we've all heard about Jassara and Nasara. We've heard about the reset going back, and we've heard about these arrests and these great awakening that this world's going to have. I can't imagine it going any other way. I think they're sloppy. All right, they're sloppy.
It's like they're sloppy
people
on purpose,
that have brought this upon us have made catastrophic mistakes. Information that should have never gotten out. We shouldn't know anything about spike proteins. We shouldn't know anything about vaccine shedding, transmitting. We shouldn't know anything about these 060606 luciferase. The body activity, cryptocurrency that's coming down the pipe. Probably one of these booster shots. Yeah.
It was always.
We shouldn't know about any of this. But
it was always a rush program, though. Everyone knew that when it started. This was a button that was pushed prematurely.
All of this is happening right now, the way it's happening, at the speed it's happening, because Donald J. Trump won, and the Wicked Witch was never in the office. Yeah. Clinton got shut down. This was her gig.
I'm so glad she didn't get in. I think he's so completely right.
Happened in 2016.
And that explains why Biden has done so much in 9 months.
That's right. Absolutely right.
Everyone who voted in that election voted not for her.
They voted because they hated Trump, not because they liked Biden.
Yeah.
Oh, in the recent one, in 2016, it was like, we don't want Hillary in because she's batshit crazy and a liar. The example I use is I remember we landed in Bosnia and we had to run from the plane under a hails of bullets from a sniper rifle. And
that never happened.
Yeah, then you go to the footage and it's a 6-year-old with a bunch of flowers. Hillary, I think you may have misremembered here.
Yes, a little bit of respect from the little girl who gave you a set of flowers. Jesus.
Yeah.
33,000 emails. Come on, look at the numbers. 33,000 emails. 060606. 666 deaths. COVID comes to 666. It's just you go.
It's sloppy.
And it's sloppy.
I don't think they got a chance in hell. But they've given it a go. Good on you, because it feels like a desperate last stand.
Even the Australian military is having they're having some internal. I'm hearing they're having internal discrepancies.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Well, just what
down now? What these police? All these police are getting fired across this country, in the United States. I reckon. I imagine in Australia as well.
Yep.
No, they're not being. They're vaccinated. All the police in Australia are vaccinated.
Not yet. The dates for the mandatory vaccination is coming up, but in Queensland, that was the first one. I've seen someone say 1,200. The police commissioner in Queensland didn't give a number. They wouldn't give the number, so they're in damage control at the moment. I think HiJacker wanted to add.
Right. Well,
yeah,
there was an Illuminati insider. They say when the elite woke up and they realized what their critical mistake was, it turned out it was the internet, and it turns out it was Donald John Trump. It was when Trump won, and they realized that it was the internet and everybody being able to communicate, which was the thing that pushed them over, and them not able to get Hillary in and keep on going with their program. Because what happened in 2019 with COVID was supposed to happen in the first 6 months with Hillary. That was the plan.
Absolutely.
And Trump came along. So the Illuminati says their biggest mistake, they thought was their greatest strength,
was Hillary could win.
Was the internet.
Just releasing
they made the mistake with the internet, and that's why they're so vicious now. When shutting everything down, they realize this is where our mistake was.
This is why such big deals have been made with big tech. I mean, you can't make a deal without ponying up some dough.
We are at war from the inside out in this country right now.
In this world right now,
it's global. It is because Mechanic, you would have seen how many people are protesting across the planet. Romania.
The media will. I have seen it. The media will never ever display that kind of activity. No way.
No. Well, that's a media you can't rely on moving forward.
Yeah, because it's that sort of level. It's like you share that idea of, hang on, people are standing up against the totalitarian government that are trying to control our lives. We've lost. I mean, here in Victoria, just Australia, the way that the media is complicit, and it's interesting. There's a independent journalist called the Real Rukshan.
Real Rukshan. I was just about to say, if you guys haven't followed this guy, do it. He's the only one doing real media at these things.
All he does is he basically films a protest for 8 hours, unedited, continuous. And then if you watch that and then you look at a 30-second report on the TV, you can see where it's all manipulated. And they've got hit pieces out against him now because
Media Watch is out against him.
Yeah.
Because, another guy is Aussie Cossack.
Yep.
I saw him. He's cool too. He's in Sydney.
Arby from Real News as well. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there as well. They're breaking the narrative of the government, and that's why they're having so much trouble. And they're being forced to have mandates and everything else like that. Now,
and the media companies hate them.
My Yankee friends, and I say that politely, what's happening with Joe Biden and his mandatory vaccine? Like, is that being stopped? Because he's mentioned it, but there's been a massive outcry. But that's the level of desperation, is people don't follow orders anymore, if that makes sense. Like they've lost control from their perspective.
Congress is they're getting away with it. So there's a setup for them. And that final date, November 22. Check the records, man. But yeah, that's all I know.
Yeah,
but just run off psychology.
People seem so bored with politics they don't want to take part. Now it's something so important that they need to. It's like the whole politics realm was made so ridiculously stupid and convoluted and boring that people just are turned off at like a horrible color that you're looking at, you know?
Well, HiJacker, it's the passport. It's the big thing is it's the passport and the booster shots, which are making the people that have already taken one or two of the vax saying, wait a minute, you're telling me like every 6 months you're going to jab me in the arm with some shit? And so now it's starting to break the other way. So the thaw's coming, sort of like the witch, the wardrobe, the line, the witch and the wardrobe, right?
Yes. The people who had done what they thought was the right thing, and you can't really blame anyone for doing what they think is the right thing. No, and it seems right. They were lied to. It was a lot of people's first flag.
They're lied to. The goalposts keep changing. You can still get we've gone through all that. We're coming to the end of Planet Collingwood.
Yeah, just like Bill Maher said, the comic said. He goes, I took one for the team. and I got really sick, and I'm not doing it again. I'm not doing this again.
Yeah, that's how
Eric Clapton as well. Like, he took one, couldn't feel his arms for 3 days. He's a guitar player, and he's actually against it now, and he's being lambasted because, like, oh, what do you know? It's like he's in the 60s, Clapton was God because of how he played guitar.
Someone wrote that on the wall. Hendrix was God.
I know, but my point, well, that's what Clapton said. It's like, I don't want to play anymore. He saw Hendrix, like, I'm giving up.
He didn't play for 2 years after seeing Hendrix.
Exactly, but he lose feelings in your arms and your hands for anybody is shocking. When you're a guitar player, it's just a little bit more. Just like, no, hang on, I can't express myself.
Can I have a quick note? I reckon 10 seconds. I reckon there's a. Okay, go. I'm not going to do it in 10.
Yeah, exactly. You've been listening to Planet Collingwood here on Revolution Radio on Studio A. I was joined by the Cortek, the Pony, the Mechanic, the HiJacker. I'm the Mont. Gentlemen, Pony and Co, are you going to continue on in the after party?
Thanks for taking my call, Monty.
Yeah, well, we'll find out with everyone.
Jacker. Good to hear from you.
Good to hear from you. Thank you for the last 2 hours. If you enjoyed the last 2 hours, please go to the station and donate what you can, so we can continue on having conversations like this before big tech crushes us or tries to crush us like a bug, and that will just wake up more people. I know how this works. So yeah, we'll be back in. Go.
We got 2 seconds. Hasn't kicked in yet. I reckon there's room for a new kind of politics. I think we've tried the whole get everyone involved. I reckon we just move to the best person with the best ideas, and we give that a run.
Yeah,
it's like dictatorship 2.0.
Well, we basically have to deal with the corruption, and we're seeing the corruption.
Oh yeah, we'll get past that.
Yeah, that's all.
Two big earthquakes in 2 volcanic locations, Hawaii and Canary, 2 of the biggest ones yet. Big fours, 4.5, and get on it.
So hopefully nothing happens till next week when we come back with Planet Collingwood. Thank you for everyone listening. I hope you enjoyed it. This will go off on YouTube. Let's go, Brandon. We'll be back in 6 days, 22 hours. Take care, everyone.
Cheers, mechanic.
Get it, Brett. Get it, Brett. Get it, Brett. Okay. Bye-bye.